All right, what's going on, everybody? I'm here with Doug, Gwyn, and Matthew from Vendible. Vendible is a privacy-preserving identity network that gives you greater control over your data and assets while helping developers remove barriers to DeFi adoption. Super excited to have this conversation, so let's just jump right into it. Welcome to the show, guys. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. I know we've had previous discussions, but really excited to do this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's always tough with multiple people. Everyone's like, who's gonna respond first?
Go first.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. But no, I'm delighted to have this conversation, and I think we should. I don't know who we should start off with for this very basic question, but let's just start off with a little bit of a background on what Vendible is, and then what each of your roles are within Vendible.
Yes, so I'll just start with role. Co-founder, COO, Vendible, and Doug and I know each other from Memphis here, and are friends, just entrepreneurs, and and that's where we got started. Doug was working on Vendible a little bit earlier on a lot of development work, and that's role is really I really enjoy taking companies to market and really scaling them quickly. I'm not a developer at all. I really like the partnership, the funding side, the operation side, and that's why Doug and I specifically work so well together, as well as everybody on the team, because we sort of finish each other's sentences in a way and complement each other in our backgrounds.
Fantastic. Let's head on over to you, Doug. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, when I ramble too much, Gwyn is the one that steps in and gets things to the point, and that's why we work so well together. I got into blockchain really early, so around 2012. But my background is in mechanical engineering, energy transfer systems. It's also in corporate management. What drew me in was hearing about the person who bought a pizza with Bitcoin. I heard this on the radio. And it reminded me, so I started programming at a very early age, so like 1985, programming in BASIC. And I had created a choose your own adventure game that had money built in. And so I got intrigued, and I started looking at it from a perspective of energy transfer. Like, what does it take to actually, confirm a transaction? Can this actually scale? And so I put it on the shelf because I didn't think it could actually scale. But I followed the space, and then 2016, proof of stake, I got really interested. 2017, I got in a few open source work groups in payments and identity. I love the space. I love the technology. I love the community aspect to the build. And I also knew that really nobody was going to use this technology unless it was somehow packaged in a new way, because most people are not comfortable with being very technical with their assets and their data the way that the early adopters are. And so since 2017, it's been a long road of discovery to get to where we are. So essentially, what is needed to ensure that everybody else can come into DeFi, truly own their data, truly own their assets, and have protections in place to make things really simple and secure. So that's where I came from, and kind of what drove Vendible to where it is now.
Fantastic. And I suppose we'll pose this last one to you, Matthew.
Yes, I would say last summer was when I personally started getting, invested into this space. And then a little over a year ago today is when I started doing some intern research work for a holding company that made Web3 investments to their portfolio. And ever since that experience, I knew I'd wanted to do something that revolved around crypto and blockchain. And then around January of this year, I joined Vendible. I was still going to school, and upon graduating, joined full-time. And my roles basically consist of tackling a lot of the partnership and funding side of things with Gwyn. Like Gwyn, I'm not a developer either. So mainly staying on the business development side of things, but just being involved in this space is something I knew I wanted to do, and it's been great so far. I'm super excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, it's a crazy trajectory this whole entire space is on, but I do want to just make a sidetrack reference to the Bitcoin pizza and just make a note that it's worth about $200 million now today, which is kind of wild to think about.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
I just looked it up over here. I mean, it said at the time this article was written, it says there 300 million, but the price has come down. But it was 10,000 BTC, which is
Mhm.
absurd if you think about it at $20,000 today. So Vendible got a foundation grant several months back, and last time we spoke, you mentioned that the foundation is looking for new account generation, and things of the sort, revenue generation, new account generation, and all that jazz. So the focus for Vendible has been on a product called Trustible. Can we dive deep into what Trustible is, and what problems does it solve, and how will it kind of change the landscape of the space?
Yes. So Algorand is a layer one blockchain, and there's only really a few core metrics for success. So we've got value that's locked on the chain, and we have number of transactions, and then we have number of active accounts. So when we look to how can you achieve success against these competitors, because Algorand has competitors, right? At the end of the day, active accounts is really what matters. So our technology spans a lot of different touch points. We could really go into a lot of different verticals. And so once we completed our grant, we began talking with the foundation about what are the next steps. And so what do we need, and what do they need? And so they need active accounts, and a lot of them. So we decided to take one core piece of our solution set and apply it. And so that's Trustible. Trustible is a sovereign private key recovery system that is secured by decentralized identity vaults. It's a bit of a mouthful, but at the end of the day, what is happening is, in the Vendible network, we can prove uniqueness of a person or uniqueness of a business, any entity that comes into us. So there's an identity verification process that is kind of the foundation for what we do. Vendible as a company, we never see any of this identity information. All we care about is there only one Doug in Vendible? Like, is there only one JT there? And so we use biometrics, and we use other documents to make sure, like on account setup, that you can create your essentially anchor into Web3. So once that is set, we use decentralized identifiers to create this main account for you. It never holds any assets. It never makes any transactions. It's like your root in the metaverse or this space. From there, we use zero-knowledge circuits and advanced encryption to create new accounts for any activities that you do. So, like, they're all for specific use cases. So it could be for just general transactions. For you have a friend and you make a connection with them, so that's a new account. You join a Discord group, there's a new account for that. And so with Trustible, we are securing private keys across all the major blockchains in a way that really hasn't been done before. We allow people to import their private keys, and there's a encryption system that takes not only military grade encryption, but it also takes information that you put into your identity vault as like a lock for that key, so that these are things that you would always know about yourself, but other people wouldn't know. And so even if, and then this is stored in decentralized storage. So no centralized party ever sees or stores or holds these keys. And even if encryption could be broken, they can't actually sign because they don't have those answers that only you know. And this is what keeps it sovereign. This is what keeps your data safe And it creates a new paradigm in the space entirely, because we've had really only two options. You can be self-sovereign, which has, it has the most freedom, but it also has the most risk. And so people who are not comfortable with that risk, they go to the other side, which is a custodian. It's very low risk, but what most people don't understand, and what all of the majority of people who are going to enter this space, unless there's another solution, don't understand, is that they actually don't own those assets. As soon as you put it on a centralized exchange, as soon as you send it to a custodian, they own those assets because they own the keys. All you have is a credit with them. And if they go bankrupt, if they make bad decisions, if a government steps in and tells them that they have to do something and they don't have a choice, they don't have to honor that credit because it's actually not your assets anymore. And so we sit in the middle. So it's not self-sovereign and it's not custodian. We just call it the sovereign model. So you have full ownership of your data and your assets, but there's protections in place so that in the event that you were careless and you just wrote your seed phrases in a notebook and you lost the notebook, or because nobody's ever done that, right? Or there's or something major, like there's a house fire and your devices are inside and everything is gone. Like in a self-sovereign world, you can't get that back. And most people honestly don't want to be fully self-sovereign because of the inherent risks. And so we give a new option where you have full control. Nobody can access this. But if you lose your seed phrases, if you lose access, you can come back through. Our biometrics recognize you. Then there's a 3-step process through our DAO Foundation and through us and through the verifier that we only know one little piece of the information, but it's enough to verify using zero-knowledge proofs that you are who you are alive, you're not under duress, and then we can open up those questions to you that you've answered before. And using the zero-knowledge proofs, you can answer those and regain access to everything. And we've solved one of the biggest blocks to widespread adoption in this process. I'm really proud of our team and everything that we've pushed and worked for over the last few years.
And JT, for your audience, that if they don't understand ZK proofs and threshold encryptions, what does that mean? It means, in kind of general terms, it's a peace of mind. You have a peace of mind that your assets are protected, that they're not going to be lost, and a little bit like an insurance policy, of course, that we all have with our cars, our houses. Doug uses the fire example, and everything else. So it's a peace of mind play that the assets and the keys that you want protected will be across chain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you make a great point that even if you are completely responsible with your keys, you write them down somewhere, you don't keep them online anywhere. Even if you put them in a filing cabinet, it could be a locked filing cabinet. As you said, the house could burn down, and or whichever building you have your filing cabinet in, if you keep it at your office or whatever it might be. Yeah, it's certainly a risk. I always like to have it in 2 places. So I mean, I'd like to in one certain place, and then my other place is actually a safety deposit box, because I feel like that's probably the safest. But even then, you're still adding some sort of risk, and it's such a hassle that most people wouldn't want to go through. So that is one of the reasons why without a solution like this, I think you're absolutely right that it would be mostly centralized exchanges that still hold on to most of these assets.
Yeah, JT, take that pizza example. Sorry, Doug. Take that pizza example. The guy in Wales, he threw away his laptop. He threw away his computer.
Yeah, he did.
And he's looking for it in the dumpster, and he's raising money to get robots to try to find that. And I don't know what that number is, but that's a big number too. But he would be a client for us.
Oh yeah, I bet. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's raised, or they've raised a couple million or so to get.
I think
that
10 or 11.
Point,
yeah,
which is so crazy because I mean, there's a huge chance it's either not there. If they do find it, it's so deteriorated that they can't, bring it back. There's so many. It must be a good portion that it's worth that $10 million risk. I'm not sure exactly how much was supposed to be on that hard drive, but It's kind of insane if you think about it.
Yeah.
All right. So how does it actually work? From a user's perspective, is it essentially almost like a wallet service? Like, I guess the question would be, would I be using still like Wallet and a Vendible service, or would I just be using Vendible or Trustible to traverse the Algorand ecosystem?
So the good part about this is that you don't have to change anything that you're doing. We have our own wallet, but what it actually is, we call it a wallet, but it's really wallet infrastructure. And Trustible is just the first instance of us releasing wallet infrastructure to the public. So you really just import your keys, and then it's encrypted and stored for you. You can continue to use, Wallet and MetaMask and your Bitcoin.com wallet as you always would, or your ledger. So we really just want to protect the keys with the service. And you don't have to change anything. You don't have to send your assets anywhere. It's not like you have to lock them down. This is just a backup for protection. And I don't know if we mentioned this before. I know we have a lot of people that would listen to this that are in the Algorand community.
Yeah.
When we talked about what Algorand needs, the reason why we chose this specific product is because we sit as a zero knowledge circuit encryption system over any blockchain. So your Bitcoin keys, Ethereum, Polygon, Solana, they can all be secured. But each key that's secured creates a new account on Algorand, where a little bit of algo and a little bit of our token VEND is locked in for each one as we protect these keys. And so the market size is massive. Like I think Gwen and I we went through the research, and by the end of next year,
it's hundreds of millions.
Yeah, like 600 million possible keys that could be protected. We are going to not only go direct to consumer, but once we get through mainnet, we're going to open source tools for developers. So if you have if I'm a developer and I have a wallet on Polygon, I could just add this code, and so as they create a new account, it automatically has a pop-up and asks, would you like to protect this key? If I'm a developer and I've got a liquidity pool, and somebody connects their account, if there's, say, more than 5 ETH, it can do a check and see, is this key protected, yes or no? And if it's not, it can just have a pop and say, we see that you have this amount of assets. That's quite a bit. Have you ever considered protecting it? Yes or no? And they can do it right there. And so there'll be ways for us to scale pretty quickly through this. For us, it's going to be critical that we get a lot of support behind the project, because in order for people to trust this service and use this service, we're going to have to open source everything that we do. But as soon as we open source everything that we do, these novel encryption systems are going to be open to the public. And so we'll have competition. So we released an NFT series to begin to drive eyes and ears to our project, and to build a mass of support around us. We have a large wait list for our products, but that's great. I mean, when I say large, I mean we have like 450,000 people that have signed up to test our services, but a lot of those we know are sort of the airdrop crowd. So yeah, they'll come in, they'll do the limited things that they need to do to get the tokens and then to go on. We're not having a public token sale. Everything in the Vendible network is participation based. So for testnet, we have 30 million VEND tokens that we're just giving away to those people that support us and help us make sure that this product is as good as possible. We need to make sure that those questions that go into that identity vault are simple but secure. And we need to make sure that the user experience is absolutely as simple as possible. So what we really are looking for with the NFT project is, number one, eyes on the project, people that are committed, that are going to stay long term. Because we'll need to open source and then go to mainnet, and then we'll turn on a referral program so that we can scale as fast as possible before other people come into the space. Because we want to own that space. And Trustible is actually, while it's a fantastic product in itself, it's really a gateway to something really more important, and that's a decentralized identity network. Because everybody that comes in creates that anchor in Web3 around decentralized identity. And then we can offer services to developers around that so they can create new types of applications that currently you can't do. So if you want to create a social media dApp, like a Facebook, but nobody can create more than one account, how do you do that, right? If you want a Reddit with no bots, how do you do that? If you want a Twitter with no bots, how do you do that? With Vendible, you can do that because we can prove uniqueness, and we can prove that you're actually who you say you are, but even better, we can prove that you are who you say you are without exposing any information about you. There's a lot in the works, but thankfully with Trustible, we have this one singular focus. So we can just go with this one core message for now and push this into the market and drive home what we're trying to do.
Awesome. You threw a lot out there, but I just want to back it up a little bit and see.
Sorry, I should have interrupted.
No, it's okay.
That's Squid's job.
It was great because there's a lot to build. There's a lot to build
Yeah.
off of, so that's fantastic. But is there a timeline on? Are you guys in testnet currently with the Trustible product?
So all of our zero knowledge circuits and encryption are done. And we are currently working through the UI. So we need different seed phrase imports for different chains, and we need slightly different encryption methods based on the layer one key signatures. So we're doing that right now while we launch this NFT series. The NFT series is dropping on Algorand, Ethereum, Polygon, and Solana, because while we have some exposure to Algorand, like the Algorand Incorporated and Foundation know us well.
Yeah.
The Algorand family, we need to outreach more, and they need to know us better. What we need is for them to come around us like a big tribe and say, we get it. We know how beneficial this is going to be to Algorand, so that when we go to the next chain, they're making the noise for us, and we bring it in because we have to pull in a lot of support cross chain, and we don't have exposure there. So that's why
It could be a couple months, JT, to answer your question.
Yeah. So right now, 6 to 8 weeks is our timeline for the NFT collection to drop across all of the chains. So that gives us time to build that mass following that we spoke about. Then we'll go into testnet. We'll do testnet for about a month with those who have the NFTs. Then we'll open source. We'll have about another month or so of testing with the larger group. And then we'll go into mainnet, push on from there.
Perfect. And you've mentioned the NFTs a handful of times, and I was about to ask what the utility or use case behind the NFTs are. You did just mention at least one of them, which would be seemingly like early access to the testnet. But what other benefits do users get out of purchasing these NFTs?
So as I said, we're giving VEND away. And so for everybody who participates in testnet, for each NFT that you get, there's essentially a multiplier effect of the tokens that you get for participation. So like a minimum of 1,200 VEND tokens right now is what we know that we can give based on the pool size that we're trying to get for testnet. So that's number one. Number two,
And that's one. And Doug, and JT, that's one NFT. 1,200 VEND equal one NFT.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody could purchase, say, multiple NFTs and kind of increase that. Awesome.
Yes. There are Iblers. Those are the PFP NFTs that we're going to release. So for each like Ible City NFT that you get, there'll be a personal profile picture NFT that we'll release. So every product that we are going to release through Vendible, we have an environment that goes around that, and that environment has a cause. So for Trustible, our environment is the city, and our cause is air pollution. So if you look at an NFT for Ible City, what you see, what looks like a bunch of colored clouds, it's really smog. And halfway through testnet, well, actually, between open source and mainnet, we're going to open up what we call the merge. So you'll be able to, if you have multiple Ible City NFTs, you're going to be able to merge those and level them up to a higher level. It takes a little bit of that smog away, so you get a bit more of a view of the city.
Yeah.
And so a portion of our proceeds goes towards air pollution initiatives. So it ties in. So you're like cleaning the air inside of your, this metaverse, and you're also cleaning the air a little bit or bringing awareness to this in the real world as well. But every time you level up, you get I always say this wrong. My grammar's not the best. A rarer Ibler, a more rare PFP, and then you also get more discounts and rewards and bonuses. So the NFTs themselves allow you to lock in long-term discounts on services. So even just one NFT itself, the discount alone on 10 keys would be like double the cost of one NFT. Just that alone. And then, if you level up to a certain percentage, we're going to allow you to essentially rent that NFT out to others so that they can get a discount. So there's passive income there. And Vendible as a company, we are kind of a zero net profit company. So obviously we have to pay our taxes, and we have an employee profit sharing program. But everything else, the rest of that profit goes back to our community in the form of a DAO Treasury, because we operate on what's called a PSP philosophy, so people, service, profit. So the people, whether it's the employees or the community, we provide this service to the world. And that outstanding service produces a profit, and we then in turn return that to the people. So this DAO Treasury, if you stake VEND, then you get access to this treasury. So that could be, you can make, as a DAO, you can make investments, you can work on initiatives that you care about, and then a certain percentage can be essentially issued out as a bonus to those who have VEND. And if you have these NFTs, then it's a multiplier for that bonus as well. So it really, I don't know if we could put more value into this. If VEND is successful, if the community comes around and supports us, and we're a success, even if we only capture 3% of the market, that's wildly successful and could be life-changing for so many people. So yeah, we're excited about it. And another thing that helps Algorand is because we're launching these on different networks, because they have the same utility, because we can prove that they're fungible, which means the one that we release on Ethereum has the exact same value on Algorand. Not only that, you can actually merge an Ethereum and Algorand NFT to level up on the chain of your choice. they're completely interchangeable, but we'll see differences in floor prices. And so we're wondering if the exchange volumes will increase on Algorand as people start to speculate on these assets that they know have the exact same value, but there's different prices across markets.
Yeah, we mentioned that the last time we spoke, and I actually found that a very interesting concept to have essentially arbitrage trading available for NFTs across various different markets and blockchains, which is kind of cool because one of the things that I like doing, especially earlier on in the Algorand ecosystem when everything was still new, there weren't as many bots out and whatnot, you actually could find a lot of arbitrage opportunities across the various decentralized exchanges. So being able to do relatively the same thing, but across blockchains with NFTs is, I don't know if that's really being done in any other in any other way, honestly.
Yeah. So we call it an XNFT. It's a cross-network fungible token. So, yeah.
And you're starting off with Algorand, Ethereum, Solana, and what else?
So Polygon. Actually, Polygon will be the next network. So we received a small grant from Polygon last year, so that they would be the next network that we go to. They're very interested in our identity services authorization, into applications. We have Polygon ID as one of their major plays. It's actually the closest structurally to what we do. We can act as an identity validator for their network, and State Proofs on Algorand is going to help us port all of our services over to Polygon. And so, we have not only the grant, but there's some partnerships on that side that we're going to announce soon. And we'll look forward to servicing, multiple blockchains in this way. We're in talks with several different foundations on different networks to kind of help us push out our message.
Awesome. Okay. I have two questions, mostly about the NFT and the token. So when do the NFTs launch? So when can viewers of this show mark on their calendars to go purchase these NFTs, or are they already live currently?
All three series on Algorand are currently live.
Okay. And that's just on Algorand?
That's just on Algorand. Most likely by the time this airs, they will also be live on Polygon as well. And so it's going to be interesting when one series sells out and then there's still remaining assets on another chain. Because typically the floor price will rise, and now we have a price difference, and so we hope that will act as a catalyst for the rest of the chains that we go to.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and like you said, it's a really interesting way to likely increase trading volume across all these NFT platforms. So that's really interesting as well. So the VEND token, you mentioned a little bit of the utility of the token. Could you expand a little bit more on the utility of it, and also when will users get their tokens? Because you said you're not doing a public sale. Essentially, you'll get X amount of tokens for each NFT you hold. Maybe that's around 1,200 currently. When would the users receive that? Would that be the day you go live on mainnet? Would it be a couple weeks or months after that? What would the timeline on that be?
Everyone will get VEND on testnet when we go into testnet. So whether you're on the general waitlist, whether you're on our previous beta waitlist, or you have an NFT, that will be sort of assigned before we go into testnet. So if you have an NFT, all you have to do is make sure that the first account that you secure on testnet has we're actually going to issue NFTs on testnet as well. So like a mirror NFT. And so as long as that's the first account, then everything will populate from there. If you're on the wait list, then that's already taken care of. And so halfway through testnet, we're going to open source our solutions, and then we'll release VEND on mainnet. And so then there'll be another month or so before we actually go live on mainnet. When we go live on mainnet, every purchase that's made a percentage of that purchase, whether that's in Ethereum, Bitcoin, Sol, will be converted into a little bit in algo so that it covers the minimum balance for that account. And then VEND. So this is pulling our token off of decentralized exchanges for each account that's created, which we're pretty excited about that. And then on the other side of it, if you stake VEND and you participate in the profit sharing DAO Treasury, your rewards come in the form of Bitcoin or Ethereum, or the DAO decides to purchase, exchange Bitcoin for our VEND token. Thanks, Algorand, plug. But we think that this is a very attractive way to manage a network. So rather than having to continually bleed out our token in order to keep people interested, this gives an incentive to everybody without having to, just inflate our circulating supply. So we're very excited.
Awesome. And do you guys already have a tokenomics plan in place? And if so, could viewers go and read up on that somewhere?
If you go to vendiblelabs.com and you click on the light paper, then all this information is there, yes.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, we've touched on a lot, honestly. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you guys want to bring attention to my audience? We talked about Trustible. We talked about the NFTs. We talked about the token. I know you touched on the greater goal. Trustible is just kind of that first step towards the goal of Vendible completely. I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit more, if we want to just keep it concise and just leave it on the discussion that we've had so far.
Doug, I would say I don't know if you wanted to discuss it today, but the partnership with Nimble and the aspect of being able to insure assets.
Yeah, I'd actually love to speak about that. I actually did just see that before we came on, and I forgot to bring it up, so I'm glad you mentioned it. How would that partnership help the end users? Because we've been seeing things. We've been seeing Nimble out and around for the past couple of months, but there's still no product live yet. So there's a lot of people that still can't really conceptualize how decentralized insurance will even benefit them in the long run. So could you speak a little bit on the partnership and what benefit users will get out of it?
Yeah, there's actually multiple touch points between Vendible and Nimble, both in our wallet and in Trustible and in other applications that we haven't released yet. Private key protection is step one. The next step for us is essentially trust services using our decentralized identifiers. So it's great that your keys are protected, but what happens if you pass away?
Yep.
Right? And you didn't share these keys with anyone. So we're going to offer a peer-to-peer trust service so that in the event something happens, you're protected, and your friends, your family, they're still protected. And so there's a cost around that. So there's an insurance pool that we'd like to open up for that. And then there are further insurance pools that we'd like to put together, because there will be times we know that verification won't be so simple, that perhaps somebody has actually forgotten their information they put in their identity vault. And so we have to have a team that can investigate and do the due diligence before we can make a determination. And so for that, we need insurance as well. So as far as Trustible goes, there's a few points there. We could talk for hours about other services that Nimble can offer, but Nimble's fantastic in that there's going to be, really, you'll see applications across the network where they can touch and help out. I'm excited about what they're doing.
And it's a relational thing too, JT. Of course, we've got to know Adam well, and once he launches, we have faith in his ability to execute. And he's the expert on decentralized insurance, and I think the opportunities there are really kind of endless, with him, and we trust him and we like him, and he's well respected in the community within Algorand, and but it gets interesting. You can really, it's kind of like we do in the Web2 world with our own personal home and car. You kind of can self-select the coverage that you want, and that's kind of how we envision it with him.
That's fantastic. I'm actually in talks with Adam currently to have him on the show. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to do that, but probably sometime over the next couple of weeks. I'm super excited for that conversation as well, because I'd like to learn more. I mean, you guys are just maybe even more curious than I was beforehand, but no, that's super exciting. So I guess I do have two more questions. I guess the first question would be, if it's a cross-chain product, why did you decide to land on Algorand for a lot of the primary functions of it?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I got in this space really early, and it was the consensus mechanism that I was studying. And then it was the proof of stake consensus mechanism that really got me interested. And so when Silvio put the white paper out in 2018, that was it for me. So pure proof of stake with these verifiable random functions. I've not seen anything since that has shown me that an open network can scale to enterprise levels, that can be efficient and secure, and at least have the ability to fully decentralize. It's in itself, it's a brilliant setup. And as soon as I saw it, I was all in. And like I said, I started talking with the team really early because I knew this is where I wanted to build. So, at the end of the day, it's the math behind the chain that really makes the difference. You then add in, the professionalism between Algo Incorporated and the foundation. We've talked to a lot of networks, and a lot of those, even really, really high market cap networks, do not have the sophistication that Algorand does. And I'm really proud that we are partnering with really two fantastic groups.
And that's a peace of mind thing too. I know I use that word, JT, with Trustible, but Algorand's a peace of mind too. Yeah. No forking. Look where TPS is right now. Reliability. No gas fees. I mean, these are kind of layup responses that the industry knows. But they've worked well with us. We work well with them. The relationships on both sides are really great. They supported us and will continue to support us, we hope. So, they're setting themselves up for really some great things in the near term and beyond. And this is not a short-term proposition for us at all. So we're building, now and for the future for intermediate and long-term growth, just like they are.
Yeah. So for identity and data and privacy solutions, even though we're going cross-chain and we're going to offer this to all of these other major networks, Algorand is the central nervous system for everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. And, you made a mention of the TPS and the upgrades that we recently went through. And I think it should be kind of screamed at a rooftop at this point that Algorand did just recently go through an upgrade, a seamless upgrade that got no news coverage. Meanwhile, everyone's talking about the merge or the Vassal hard fork of Cardano, which I hope goes successfully. Nothing against them. It's just really, really interesting that Algorand can go very seamlessly from 1200 TPS to 6000 TPS, reduce its finality from 4.4 seconds to about 3.8 seconds or something of the sort, and almost no mention of it on the news. It's that they're just quietly building better and better products and seemingly not getting the recognition that I think is deserved in the media.
And they might miss Kelly a little bit, because I think that is, and there have been some people change at the executive level, and we're getting to know all of them. But if you have something, so good, you don't want to keep it quiet. You need to tell the world that this is going on, and you need to talk about it in a big way. If not, you're doing yourself a disservice.
I do agree that Kelly, I'm sure, is missed from the marketing standpoint, but I do think overall, over the last 6 to 8 months, Algorand's gotten a lot better at getting their name out there. But hopefully we can make that next leg up because and just attention wise, I'm not talking about price or anything like that, but there seems to be almost like a ceiling for the attention that Algorand gets in the media currently, and hope that we blast through that soon.
Yeah, and what does that mean for the average person too? What does that mean? Doing what they just did, how does that benefit us? And I think that's important to tell in that messaging too, and that narrative. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of companies in Silicon Valley that have and I have one in a company that I know well. They have heads of storytelling, and which I know is like a PR person, but I think that's important for Algorand to have that sort of role too.
No, storytelling is a big part of the game. Honestly, you need to make sure that you're owning that you're creating the proper narrative and then owning it and making sure it's not getting distorted along the way. But yeah, I completely agree. And we did just mention the upgrade, and in the upgrade are state proofs, which Doug, you mentioned a little while ago that you'll actually be using state proofs to operate some of the the cross-chain function. Can you just speak a little bit actually as to what state proofs are and how they're helping Trustible do what it's going to do?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, state proofs are a lightweight roll-up of the state of the blockchain. So if you take everything that happens, say over the last 20 minutes, and we just compress that into one little, bit of data, then other chains can read this and know what the truth is. The reasons that blockchains are so beautiful is because they are truth in a world where it's hard to find truth. And bridges are okay, but they are an intermediary that looks at a truth and then tells somebody else what the truth is. Yep. What Algorand has done is they've said, it's like the layer itself is saying, here is the truth, right? You don't have to look to anywhere else. You can look directly to the chain. And this is really powerful. I hope other proof of stake networks adopt this so that, really fantastic things can be developed. And yeah, we're going to use that for identity services, authorization services for dApps, things like that. Our own, zero knowledge authentication services. We'll use this where we query DIDs, ask them questions to essentially allow developers to make specialized applications. So if you want an investment app, but you only you want to exclude certain countries, you can do that with our services without exposing any information about the people. So if you don't want anybody from the US, that's fine. You just make this query, all you get back is a yes or a no. And so it's pretty powerful what state proofs are going to allow us to do, because we can take that to other chains. Where before yes, we could rely on a bridge, but there's a bit of there's trade-offs. And one thing that you mentioned, I'd like to circle back to real fast, because I don't know if a lot of new people into the blockchain space realize how important this is. The fact that Algorand does not fork is really one of the most important factors. Could you imagine any corporation building a service on a tech stack that at any point in time could disagree with itself, and you wouldn't know where the actual truth lies? Because that's what a fork is. A fork is a consensus that's broken, and then you end up with two different paths. And then as a community, you have to choose the path. I've been in DAOs and I've been in chains where it's forked. It's extremely confusing. A lot of times there's arguments. And what company is going to want to put up with that? They won't. And so if you look at, Why would a FIFA choose Algorand? Why would, some of these nation states that are talking Algorand choose Algorand?
Yep.
I mean, this is what this is what they built for from the beginning, and it's good to see everything coming to fruition.
Absolutely. And I don't know if anyone caught this, but just a little side story on state proofs, but Silvio Macaulay posted, retweeted the upgrade. And then we've got Jack, I can't pronounce his last name, but he is a core developer over at Cosmos, made a mention. He's like, so when IBC would love to work on this. And then somebody asked, are you going to incorporate state proofs into IBC? And Jack said, IBC requires state proofs for chains to be integrated. So if Algorand now has state proofs, we can use them to build an IBC client. And of course, the great John Wood said, hey, Jack, I'd love to chat more about this. And it seems like they are doing just that. So very, very interested to see what's to come from state proofs as time goes on. Really, I feel like the sky's the limit. There's going to be a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity that happens in the space now that this technology is released. So this was delightful to see the other day. So I'm very excited about that. Just a little side note on state proofs. Well, fellas, this has been absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add to the discussion. I know we've touched on a lot, but if you do, feel free to do so. But if not, I appreciate all three of you for taking the time out of your day to come on the show and share your product with all of my viewers.
Yeah, that's great. We'd love to get you some links too, on kind of the websites, and if they're interested in tokenomics, obviously purchasing NFTs, just to help us get to testnet, sooner than later. That's the goal, so we can keep building.
Absolutely. Before you guys head out, plug all the Twitter, all the websites that people can go and learn more, find the NFTs, learn about the product, and I'll also share all those links down in the description below. But if you want to just let the audience know where they can go to learn more.
Yeah. The website's vendiblelabs.com, and our Twitter is at GoVendible, and then all three series are on AlgoX NFT. And yeah, I'm just to reiterate what Gwen said, at this time, what we really need is like the full support of the Algorand community, because we're building for Algorand success. We want to move Algorand straight up the market cap and do that through account generation. So yeah, anybody listening, just appreciate your support.
Fantastic. Well, this has been great, guys. I'm happy to do it again as you guys get closer to mainnet. Just reach back out. We'll be happy to discuss all the changes that have taken place between now and then. And until then, I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks a ton.
Thanks so much, JP.
Of course, no problem.